Hey everyone, today we're going to be looking at replacing a bottom block assembly. This is our bottom block here, and what we're going to need is your new one. You're going to need a replacement diaphragm and a Phillips screwdriver, and also if you have some needle nose pliers, that'll help pop off the E-clips in the bottom, or if you have a small screwdriver, that will work just as fine. So let's take a look underneath the dispenser here and what we're working with. Now this specific model has these information wires running through the top. There's brown, orange, blue, and green. These are for empty keg detectors, meaning this is for a long draw system. If you don't have these up here, that's totally fine. We don't need them. And you're gonna see that the process is the same for all across every model. What we're gonna be doing is replacing this part here. And so the first thing that we need to do is we need to unplug this guy, and that is these two black wires right here. So you can probably just reach under there and pop that out. So let's take a little closer look at what we're working with here today. Before you do any work, it's important that you depressurize your lines. So if you were to pop this off now, there would be beer and CO2 flying out everywhere and you make a giant mess. So if you have a direct draw system or a short draw kegerator, just untap your keg, put the dispenser into prime mode, push down on the cup coupler, and hit the start button, and that'll shoot out any extra pressure or liquid in the line. If you have a long draw system, which means you're running from a keg room up to the bar, untap the keg and the cooler, and then go back up to your dispenser, do the same thing. Put the dispenser into prime or purge mode, push down the cup coupler, hit the start button, any extra pressure and beer will be dispersed. And then you're gonna want to hit stop once everything's out. You're gonna wanna go back to your cooler and you're gonna hear clicking, so that's the beer pumps trying to work. If you're looking at the regulator on your wall-mounted panel, it'll be the dial or handle on the right side of the regulator where it says beer pump gauge. You close that little valve and that'll turn off pressure to the line, so you should be good to roll. Okay, so with that out of the way, we'll see that our solenoid here is disconnected. We disconnected that earlier. The solenoid is actually this little part here. That's what's plugged in. That's referred to as the solenoid. You can refer to this, the whole part being plugged in. What you're going to want to do first is take your needle nose pliers or your small screwdriver, and I like to use a small screwdriver. There is this little clip right there. This is what we're going to be popping off. So that's just a little C-clip held in the bottom of the plunger rod. So they can definitely fly off on you, so if you have a couple on hands, all the better. So move that out of the way, and then there is this little black piece across this gap here. This is a linkage log, we'll call it. So it's got some synthetic lubricant on it. This helps the mechanism slide open and close easily. So those are out of the way, and now we can unscrew the bottom block with these 4 points here. So let's take your Phillips screwdriver. I like to start in one of the back corners first. Just kind of loosen all 4 of those. And once you got all 4 loosened, just unscrew them the rest of the way. So our old bottom block is off now, and what we need to do while we have the valve exposed, there she goes, we need to replace this diaphragm. As you can see there, the seal on it, as it were, has been broken. So we're going to pop off one more C-clip and swap on our new diaphragm, and then we'll put on our new bottom block assembly. To remove the C-clip, do the same thing we did with the first one. You can take your screwdriver, you can take some needle nose pliers, just gently pop that off. There's also a washer, you can always go flying. And then you just pull down on the diaphragm, causing issues. There we go. Pop that off. So that's what it looks like. Still fairly clean. So it's important to, you really want to replace your diaphragms once a year as well. They can get built up with all kinds of gunk over time and can make the dispenser not run as well as it should be. So here's our new diaphragm, and you see it's not broken there. So we want the nipple on this facing up, and you're just going to kind of push it onto the plunger rod like so. And you don't want it to be stuck kind of umbrellaed up like that. Make sure it's popped down, and there's a little groove in the center right there of this plunger rod that just kind of snaps right into. There are a couple other videos showing you how to replace diaphragms you can refer to as well if you need them. And from there we just kind of work our way back. So we're going to put the washer and then C-clip back on. This can be tricky sometimes. There's a little groove right there that clip goes in. Go. And a good way to check, you can just sort of make sure it moves around freely. Looks like it is. All right, so our new diaphragm is on. And so now we can just put our new bottom block on, and you'll see that there are, where the screws go in, you've got these nice little raised points on the bottom block, so you'll see they correspond with the holes here. So it's just a matter of just getting it seated properly. I think just kind of hold it in there. And so then with one hand you kind of keep it in place, and with the other hand, let's find it. We're going to start to put our screws back in. So I like to start again in the back corner. And sometimes they'll fit real easy and make your process pretty pain-free, but sometimes they don't like to line up, so you might have to use a screwdriver to kind of guide it in there. Okay, so finagled that a little bit. I got this back screw started. And you don't need to tighten it all the way, just get it in about halfway so it's at least into that brass block where it sits. And then you can get the other 3 screws into place. Our bottom block is screwed back in, so now we just need to reset the linkage log here and make sure that the rounded part is what goes up onto this slider piece here. And that slider piece is what you sometimes, if you need to manually open the valve sometimes, it's what you're pressing on. So rounded side goes up, and then you just use your C-clip and pop that back in, give it a spin, make sure it's working fine. And then the last thing that you need to do is plug the mechanism back in. So if you're looking at the circuit board here, you got the 2 black wires. It pops it right back into there. It's always a good idea to check your work to make sure everything is working as it should be. So the easiest way to do that is to put your cup coupler on, turn your dispenser on. You can see there's no liquid in the line, and everything is empty. So we got the empty keg lights are flashing. If you have a kegerator short draw system, you won't see these lights flashing. You can bypass still operating the dispenser by going into prime and pushing down on the cup coupler and holding a cup upside down. It's never a bad idea. Hit start. So we hear the valve opening and closing. That's exactly what we're looking for. So we know that is clicking open. That clicking sound is the valve opening, and we know that everything is looking right. good to roll.